Hey, what's up there, my fellow Youpreneurs? We're back with another monthly chit-chat here inside of the Academy. Rick Mulready, everyone. Oh,
thanks for having me.
My God, dude, why is this taking so long, A, for this to happen, and
I know,
B...
it's been too many years.
Yeah, you've been dodging my calls.
Pretty much. You figured me out.
That's what it is. Rick is here to talk all about and everything involving paid advertising.
Yep.
Specifically, though, focusing on Facebook, Instagram, right? That's kind of your jam.
It's so important because I was just talking to somebody the other day. So one of my mastermind students, she said, I have the organic Instagram down.
Yes.
She gets great traffic from that. She didn't know the ad side. She was scared to death of the ad side.
Right.
And she, through our work together and everything, she figured out the ad side. And she was getting lead costs like amazingly inexpensive, really good quality leads. And she said the biggest breakthrough for me was, yes, we had success, but now I have a consistent, predictable stream of leads.
Right.
In addition to my organic.
Organic stuff as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, totally. All right, so let's say we're in a similar situation. Most Youpreneurs, they've got their website, they're being active on Facebook, Insta, maybe they're doing some stuff on YouTube, a few other bits and pieces. Everything seems to be going well, but they want to double down and they want to start really growing their list and they want to start putting themselves into a position where they've got additional funnel opportunities, conversion opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. Where can we start now? Because, I mean, I'll be frank with you as well. We've always spent a little money on ads here and there. And when I say always, I mean really in the last 5 years. But it wasn't really until I started doing the Youpreneur Summit in 2017 where we really paid super close attention to it all. And clearly I'm a converter. I mean, I'm here every month spending thousands on it now, right?
You gotta, I mean, to really build the business the way that the way that we all want to, right? You have to have that channel, because you just mentioned, Chris, that your students they're doing different things and they want to diversify. That is awesome. Diversify, yes. And if you're not doing ads can be that sort of fuel to the fire, if you will. That can be, you throw on that lighter fluid and that's where you can spread things of what you're doing.
Right.
Especially when if you're doing organic stuff, just something as simple as Facebook Lives or Instagram stories or whatever, and then you start doing ads, your ads are going to benefit from all that organic stuff that you're doing.
Of course, right.
So it all comes together as one meaningful marketing strategy where you are diversified, though.
Why do you think so many people are skittish to get involved with the whole paid ad thing?
Afraid of losing money.
Simple as that.
Yeah. They're just afraid of I don't know what I'm doing, so I've
got no idea what's going on.
So they're like, well, I don't want to spend money. I'm going to waste all my money. I'm going to lose all this money.
Right.
And that's, I always start out my trainings with the unsexy stuff, and it's number one, the foundation of success with your ads is you have to have the right mindset. Of all right, look, I'm going to test and see what works and what doesn't work. And I'm probably going to lose money in the process. But it's that, isn't it that there's some saying that, it's people they're going, and they're trying to make it work and they give up.
Just at the part
where they're
about to tip at the tipping point.
Yes, yeah. It's the ads are the same thing.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy earlier today before my presentation. He said, he was running ads for his wife's business and he was testing, and they said it took him about a month, which really is a short time to figure it out. But he said we took about a month, then we started to dial things in and started to see success, and now it's working really well. The thing that happens is most people don't make it past that month. Right. They're like, oh, this doesn't work. I'm going to give up.
Right.
And so that's really what keeps people from doing it, is their fear of losing money in the process of them trying to figure out what works and what doesn't.
What's going on, yeah. Which, I mean, if you think about it, that same fear could be attached to hiring your first employee or going to your first See, here's the thing. You won't think twice about dropping $1,500 on a conference ticket, flying cross country, there's another $500, hotel, another grand. It's $2-3 grand. You don't think twice about doing something like that because there's a tangible thing. I'm going to a conference, I'm staying at a hotel, and blah, blah,
and
blah,
if you
blah,
think about that, it's sometimes harder to see an ROI from that.
Yeah, totally.
Whereas if you spent those $2,000 on ads, you can very clearly see an ROI on that.
Right.
If it's work, like, you can see the results very tangibly.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. They'll drop it, and it's just a different mindset.
Okay, so let's say that we're not scared
Yep.
of losing money.
Yep.
How can we start to potentially start taking this more seriously? Like, are there a few things that we need to do kind of initially to get ready before we start going?
Yes, and that's the key. I'm glad you bring up that angle, because most people, once they make that decision, they're like, cool, I'm going to open up Ads Manager and go into Canva and start creating, which I love. I love the action taking.
Right.
But you have to do what I call the upfront work first, which most people don't want to do.
Okay.
But yet, that is the difference between people who are successful with their ads and people who are not.
Okay.
And that upfront work is, again, it's the unsexy stuff. It's understanding who your target customer is, understanding what their challenges are, what their pain points are, how you uniquely can solve them, but how, more importantly, how you can message, like how can you communicate to somebody? If you're my customer, if you're my ideal audience and I understand you, can I clearly communicate how I can help you?
Right.
That's key.
Right.
Most people will be like, oh yeah, I can do that. Well, when you really dig into it, most people cannot do that.
Totally. And I've seen it over and over and over again where people, not to use the buzzword avatar, but I call them, from my sales background, I call them a perfect customer.
Yeah.
That's what I've always called them.
Yeah.
So it's like they make all these massive assumptions.
Yes.
And then they're upset when things don't work out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a weird thing. So what can we do? What can we do to dial down on it?
When it comes to ads, actually, so your perfect customer, most people paint the picture of, oh, it's Sally, she's 34 years old and she drives to work and she has a 34-minute, whatever. That's great, but when it comes to ads, you have to add an additional, what I call a holistic understanding of your target audience.
Okay.
What I mean by that is, what brands do they shop at? What TV shows do they watch? What publications do they read? Do they attend conferences? Do they, what are their hobbies? That type of stuff.
Right.
Because I always use the yoga example, and so. Yes,
my wife would love you for that.
Yeah, okay. So Ursa is our perfect customer for that, right? So she's interested in yoga, right? So we're going to say women between a certain age range who are interested in yoga. That's where most people would stop.
Right.
But when we have a holistic understanding of the target audience, well, they're probably interested in brands like Lululemon, or Lorna Jane, or Gaia, or whatever.
Right.
Most people, and so all right, let's target that. Let's test that out. They probably shop at stores like Whole Foods.
Right.
They're probably, but most people don't think outside the box a little bit to reach them. They're stuck with all right, women who have an interest in yoga.
21 to 30 who like yoga.
That's it.
Right.
I mean, that's great. I would do that.
So you're saying the niching down aspect of it is, and we would do this anyway. I think you guys would. You're smart. You get this. We would do it anyway. We would niche down as far as we could to understand that the closer we get to that perfect customer, the better our messaging can be, the easier it is to convert people, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
Why should it be any different when we're talking about spending money on ads? But people are making this cardinal error every single day.
Yes. They don't want to do that work.
But Facebook makes it easy for us to do this.
Totally. I mean, the targeting capabilities are amazing.
Do you think maybe it might have something to do with the fact, people think Facebook's huge. There's gazillion people on there. I'm just going to say female 20 to 30 who likes yoga to make that broader reach?
I don't think that.
Okay.
Because what I see is actually the opposite of that.
Okay.
Is they get too targeted.
They niche down too much.
Exactly. They start layering in, I want to reach people who have an interest in this and this and this and this. And so we're they're 5 layers deep, and we took our audience that was, a couple million people. Well, yoga's huge, but let's just say we took our audience of a couple million people, which would be a good audience to start with. And now we're down to 45,000 because they've layered, I get the thought process, because I'm no, I want to be, because Facebook, as we're talking about, gives us great targeting opportunities. But when we go too deep on the layering, we're actually hurting ourselves. there's a time and place for it, yes, but generally we don't want to go too deep.
The shrinkage will hurt us, ultimately, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we're doing a little research. We know
Yep.
who the perfect customer is.
Yep.
And ads campaign, ad manager freaks us out.
So we're not there yet.
Okay, we're not there yet. Okay.
So now we have our understanding of our target audience.
Okay.
Now we need to know, are there sub segments of people in that audience? So as an example, we'll use the yoga example again. So there's beginners, there's people who are interested in, doing it for whatever, wellness or
recovery.
Yeah, then you have like hardcore yoga people.
Yep.
So the reason I bring that up is because the messaging is going to be different for each person.
Okay.
So someone who is super hardcore versus somebody who is just beginning, that messaging is going to be different.
Totally.
As an example, like maybe I want to target Yoga Journal magazine, like which you can do in there. Someone who is a straight up beginner is probably not going to be reading Yoga Journal. That's a hardcore yoga person. I'm assuming, again, we're making assumptions.
Right.
So the messaging needs to reflect that. And that's where a lot of people make a mistake, is they have one conversation with everyone.
Okay.
As opposed to, the whole adage of advertising is have the right offer at the right person at the right time. Well, it's the same thing as like, I need to be talking with the audience within my audience. Now you might be saying, or everybody watching might be like, no, I only have one audience. Okay, cool. Then you can have, different conversations with that around the same topic. But where most people can improve their ad results is to make sure that their messaging matches to the type of person.
The relevancy has to be there. I talk about relevancy all the time.
Yeah.
And I will say, we all know that that's important anyway, but again, going back to 2017 when we started taking our ads really, really seriously, that relevancy was massive for us. The moment we saw that they looked at this piece of content, we offered them this particular opt-in, and then they ended up buying this particular product. Bosh, bosh, bosh. It went over and over and over and over and over again. There's clearly a reason why, and it's the relevance.
And
all the way.
Again, most people don't want to do that work.
Right.
Because that's the work before you even get into Ads Manager, is understanding your target audience, what their pain points are, how you can communicate that, are there sub-segments of that audience, and then choosing the different types of, and we can go in different directions here, but all right, what's your hook, if you will, or what's the angle that you're taking to speak to them? And then once we have those types of things, then we can get into Ads Manager and start setting stuff up.
Okay, so take us in there. It's scary at first.
It is. I was just going to say it's scary. Facebook has done a much better job of making it more intuitive from all right, here's step one. So we have I like to, those Russian dolls where smaller size fits it. Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. So we have campaigns at the top, then ad sets, and then ads.
Okay.
So ads go in the ad sets, and then both of those go in the campaign.
Okay.
So the campaign is at the higher level. You're naming your campaign. You're Youpreneur launch number 2, whatever, February, whatever. And then you set an objective of the campaign. So if you're looking for leads, if you want to grow your email list, conversions is my objective.
Okay.
It's so important to understand what your objective is. And I was just DMing with some people today. They asked me a couple of questions over Instagram, and they said, I'm getting whatever cost per click. I'm like, okay, but I know the answer to this before I even ask, but what's the goal of the campaign? And they're like, well, I want to grow my email list. I'm like, all right, well, see, cost per click is great, but what is your cost per lead? And when we know what our goal of the campaign is going into it, then we can set our campaign up to get us those results. Yeah, and so that's where the objective comes in. You might be happy spending, for example, $20 a lead, or that might be way too much for what it is you're ultimately trying to sell. Right. So let's just say you're trying to sell maybe tickets to the event straight up off the ad.
Yep.
And your lead cost was $40 or whatever.
Right.
Well, normally $40 for a lead magnet, you'd be like, holy, that's terrible.
Right.
But it's all relative.
If you're selling a ticket for £500,
right?
Whatever. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. And so that brings up the other point too of now further down the road, once you've got your ads going, you've got to know what your stats are. right? You got to know what your lead costs are. You got to know, like, all right, how much is it costing me to actually get a customer? How much is that customer worth to me, right? Because you might make $500 off that ticket to the event, but then offering something at the event, and you'd be like, all right, well, my lifetime customer value is $1,200 or something, and I'm paying $40 to get them in the door, basically. Cool.
All day long, baby.
Yeah.
All day long, right?
Keep spending.
Yeah. If only if it was that simple. Okay. Now, we should say, though, let's caveat this real quick because, Instagram is a monster as well. It's not just about Facebook. You can manage everything inside of the ad manager on Facebook for Instagram, too.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up because I mentioned this on my talk this morning, too, is that whenever I mention Facebook, I'm talking about Instagram as well.
Right.
Because, like, you set up all your ads, your targeting, all that stuff is the same. Within Ads Manager, you can run on Instagram and on Facebook. It does have its nuances, right? So just as the simplest of examples, you can't say, click this link. You can say that for the Facebook ad because you can do that in the post.
It won't work on Instagram, right?
Right, exactly.
You got to swipe up
on
Instagram.
Well, on a story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that brings up a great point, is that or Instagram stories, so underused.
Really? From an ads perspective.
Yeah, but like so effective. So effective. I mean, we're talking, 15-second videos for, as an example. You can go longer, but like,
yeah,
so
I don't
few
think
people are using that.
We've done story ads.
Yeah.
But they've been off the back of the stuff that we've designed for other ads. We've actually not done like a
so
physical...
you do all placements and it just runs in the story. Yeah. So I would encourage you to make an ad specific to stories that has a specific call to action of swipe up, for example.
Right.
They work so well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, you're going to start seeing them popping up in your feed. It's going to happen. All right. So what else? What next? What's next in the process?
Yeah. And then once you understand your target audience, your messaging, how you're going to speak to them, how are you going to attract them? It's like, well, what are you going to attract them with? Like, what is your offer? Now, I say offer, people immediately think of like paid. It could be paid, but what are we? Again, this goes back to what's our goal of the campaign. Oftentimes we're trying to grow our email list. All right, cool. So give me an example for Youpreneur. If you're running ads to grow your list, what's one topic that you might want to be using to attract audience in?
Monetizing your expertise. Okay,
cool. So monetizing your expertise, and then what's the next step? So you want them to join the academy, ultimately.
I mean, that's a very, very important part of our funnel. Absolutely, right. Yeah. Low price, $39 a month.
Yep.
Gives them all the tools they need to be able to ultimately start to build out and market their personal brands.
So you could give them, for example, I don't know, and just off the top of my head, like some sort of exercise to do or something, a worksheet to do that will make them not make them, that sounds bad, but like get them closer to realizing that it's really a possibility.
It's a real thing, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So that is a quick win for them. It's not going to take them very long to do. And the logical next step is to join the academy.
Yes.
So that would be a great lead magnet. But at the same time, since you have so many different areas of expertise in the academy that you teach, you could do a lead magnet for each one of those.
Of course.
But they're all leading to the same thing.
Yes, absolutely.
And you could be testing 15 different lead magnets.
Right.
To see which one works the best.
Yeah. Well, we have our biggest opt-in, and many of the people watching this has probably got involved with us initially through this opt-in, is what we call our personal branding roadmap.
Yeah.
And that is I think about a 15-page PDF where we break down like the top 10 tips to build a smart brand or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Rick, I wrote this like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
We've redesigned it once, but it's perfect and it works great.
Yeah.
Now in that, we talk about creating content to amplify your message.
Yep.
We talk about writing a book to position yourself as an expert.
Yeah.
We talk about getting on stage and spreading your message via speaking. So clearly we run ads that focus on all those content
different
marketing,
things.
book marketing, and speaking.
So
but it all runs into one opt-in as well.
Right, exactly.
You know?
So what you could do with that, so as an example, is you could target, our friend Amy Porterfield. You could have messaging, your hook, if you will, around speaking, around book writing, around whatever else.
Right.
3 different things.
Yeah.
And your ads would all be targeted the same audience. What you're doing is you're picking the people out of the Amy audience who are interested in those different
All those
things.
different things, yeah.
Because if you just said, oh, no, I want to focus on speaking. Well, somebody might be, Sally in Eugene, Oregon, might be great for the program, but she's not interested in speaking.
Right.
Right?
Totally.
So then it's like, all right, let's use the different angles here, hooks here, to bring people in. Again, it's all going to the same thing, because most people think like they get lost in that too. Is you're like, well, what holds people back? It's like, well, it's like so much work. It's really not, because you can have one follow up that leads into the account. You're not having like 17 different products.
No.
Yeah.
And again, relevancy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about the relevancy.
Exactly.
If there's one basic lead gen funnel that everybody should consider putting in place with the idea of utilizing paid ads to feed into that funnel, whether it be warm audiences, cold audiences, whatever it is, can you kind of draw out a picture for us in some way on that?
I'm going to be less specific, but more how to think about it.
Okay.
So think about a lead magnet from the perspective of how we were just talking, like who are we speaking to, and how can I give somebody a quick win? So you give them a short ebook that they can do, and what do you say? It's like 10 things you can do.
Yeah.
So maybe number 9 somebody didn't know about. Like, oh, cool, I can go do that. Boom, there's a win.
Right.
You want someone to be able to consume that really quickly. I like to say within 20 minutes or so. Give them that they can consume and take action on it and see a win.
Right. This is why checklists are so hot.
Exactly.
Everybody loves a checklist. We don't have a checklist.
And it sounds
I kind of feel like I need to
It sounds so silly.
Right.
It sounds so overused, but it's because they work.
Right. Totally.
And so
maybe that's the reason why we don't have one. It's like everyone's got checklists.
Right.
Why are we not?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, how can you give them a quick win? How can they consume it really quickly? And then take it a step further and say, what does someone need to believe as you're thinking about what the lead magnet is? What does someone need to believe in order to take me up on the offer I'm going to make them?
Right.
So how can you bridge from where they're at right now to get them ready for your paid offer through the lead magnet? So for you, it's you said here are these opportunities, or personal branding, or the monetize your passion or whatever.
Right.
Well, you could get them. They might be like, oh, I didn't know I could monetize that.
Totally.
So you could use your lead magnet to get them to that point, and then oh, cool, I need all this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've done the same keynote, The Business of You, probably 50 times in the last 4 or 5 years or something. And there's one section in that talk where I break down the 5 ways that you can monetize your personal brand. Yeah. And that's always that's the screen where all the phones come out. Yeah. And everybody wants to take a photo of the lineup.
So there you go. There's your lead magnet.
Yeah.
There's a lead magnet.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. So let's switch gears a little bit here. Not so much tactic stuff, but more overview, opinion.
Yes.
You've got one.
I do.
We want to hear about it. How do you see paid advertising overall? Not necessarily on Facebook, just we're talking Google ads, YouTube ads, the whole lot. How do you see that changing going forward? Because there's a lot of issues, particularly here in the United States, where what is the FTC? Is it the FTC? All these kind of big organizations and bodies and boards and all the rest of it, they're starting to get very much involved with trying to manage a lot of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
How do you see things shaping up in the next few years?
I think that, look, this stuff's always changing. And just kind of, if you're a marketer, if you're a business, as an online entrepreneur trying to grow your business, you got to have ads, right? I that's how I built my business. That's how so many of us that we know, mutual friends, have grown their businesses. It is an integral part of, as I talked about before, diversifying. So,
and here's the thing, not to cut you off or anything, but everyone I've talked to that has gotten involved with them at a certain point have all said, should have started earlier.
I wish I spent more.
Or I wish I spent more, right. Yeah, one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it works.
Yeah.
And it does, like I said, it does take time. But going back to your question, it's like, all right, keeping an eye on it, testing what I know there's people out there who say, like, you should be on every platform available. Is it feasible for some people? No.
Right.
But I think, is it a good strategy? Yes. But, like, let's start somewhere, And look, Facebook's not going anywhere.
There's a good few people on Facebook.
Yeah. Facebook's not going anywhere. Instagram's not going anywhere. Is the landscape changing? Yes. But I think if you continue to do things with integrity, approaching it from the right way, trying to truly add value to the audience that your perfect customer, you're going to be okay. You're going to continue to be successful. And I think platforms like, one platform that I really truly don't know a lot about, but I have a lot of students who are just killing it, is Pinterest. I think that there's a lot of platforms out there that are very interesting, like LinkedIn, for example. And I don't mean LinkedIn from a paid perspective, like LinkedIn organic. Mm-hmm. I mean, I talked to somebody this morning, just killing it on LinkedIn, and I know a lot of people. Like, it's just it's these untapped resources that we as entrepreneurs get to keep an eye on and see what's going on and be able to take advantage of it. But I think that just longer term, the next few years, I think things are gonna, from a privacy perspective.
Yeah, that's the big one, right?
Yeah, I think just keep going. Do things with integrity. Don't do things, that are shady.
Be consistent.
Yeah. Show up. And that consistency part too, Chris, like I didn't mention it earlier, but like the more that we can show up consistently from an organic standpoint, and I touched on it earlier, but like the more you can show up and do Instagram stories and Facebook Lives, and I don't mean necessarily every single day,
right? But
the algorithm that is running behind the scenes on these platforms
sees everything,
likes, exactly, and it's going to help your paid efforts.
Yeah,
and so, I just gave a talk this morning, and one of the things that we talked about was building audiences based on them watching your video. So if you put a video up on Facebook, you can build an audience of people based on how long they're watching that video. And there's so many reasons why that's a good thing and so powerful, but what if in 3 years from now, Facebook doesn't allow you to upload your email list anymore, right, for privacy reasons, whatever. There's been,
and they've gotten stricter on that.
There's been rumblings around that. Yeah. So one thing you can do to combat that, if you will, is to create video content and then build audiences of people based on how long they're watching, and use that to retarget people.
Yes.
Right. And again, this is just getting involved with the platforms and understanding what's going on and trying to pay attention, because it does change a lot, and taking advantage of it for how these platforms want you to be using the stuff. Yeah.
It's great stuff.
Yeah.
We could spend so much more on this, but we do have to wrap it up because you've got a mastermind call with your students to do as well. Thank you so much for spending some time.
Man.
It was great to hang out. We hope that this has inspired you genuinely to start looking into paid ads. If it has, and you want to learn a little bit more from Rick, I'm going to link to his website, rickmulready.com, right below this video. And we'll be back at you again with another chit chat. We're going to do like this, like another chit chat, because it's all about the money, baby, this time next month. We'll see you then.